earlier this year when I took a trip to Accra, Ghana.
Woof! Game changer of a trip for you.
Yes, indeed. My life hasn't been the same. Chance the Rapper sent me over there, and he was doing a big concert, a free concert for 52,000 people who were in Ghana. People came from all over the world, Tracy, to have this experience. One of the people I met was a phenomenal individual that I had no idea who he was, but when we met, it felt like we met before. You know, and for some reason, this dude took it upon himself to make sure that our trip was golden. It was a phenomenal trip. He was somebody I could call on at any time of the day. I did not understand who he was, but I just understood that he had a purpose there that helped me have one of the greatest trips I ever taken outside of the United States. This man is someone who worked in banking. He worked in real estate. And after the market crash, I want to say the recession hit back in 07, 08. I often speak about how many properties I lost during that recession and how it reshaped my mind when it came to banking, when it came to finances. The recession actually became something that was advantageous to me because of what I learned and how I was able to benefit from what I learned. This man decided to take it upon himself and become a Web3 entrepreneur. He's been on this crusade since, explaining and expressing and teaching people about Web3 technology and how it's changing and how it's evolving and how it will impact our everyday lives. I want to welcome him to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for my friend and confidant, Titus Bawumia is here. Hey.
Welcome, Dale.
Did I say the name right, Dale? Did I say the name right?
You got it right. First shot. That first shot was good.
That's what I do, baby.
You gotta put the Ghana juice on it.
Okay, jump up on that mic here, man.
Yeah, the whole world gotta hear you, Dale.
I got you good. Dale is a really unique individual. Folks, if you're into technology, if you're into AI, if you're into culture and the synergy between AI and culture and how this is working towards us as creatives, this is a man to call. Web3 technology. We've had a few folks up here to talk about it, including Styles P and Baron Davis, and it's a conversation we want to continue to have so folks can understand it. Before we do that, Dale, tell us your background. Where were you born?
So I was born in London, Northwest London, to be specific.
Now that's the home of who? Gigs or who's
Yeah, you know what? Gigs. You listen. Gigs is my guy.
Okay,
like, he's from the south, but we love him in the north.
Okay, y'all still love him in the north.
We still love him in the north.
Okay,
like, that's my guy. So he's welcome in any way.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was born in London, Northwest London. Mainly grew up in London. And my parents, right, they're immigrants, Ghanaian immigrants that moved into London. So I was kind of, my early childhood years, I was in between London and Ghana.
Okay.
Right? And that's kind of like what formulated what you experienced when you came to Ghana.
Now your family is very prestigious people. Your I want to say your grandfather, Dr. Baffour Ajay Bawumia.
You're getting it today, Sway.
Yes.
Come on,
She's
man.
That's
getting
your
it today.
Ghanaian brother right there. He better show off.
Come on, man. Come on, brother.
Sway's doing it today.
Come on. He's a former ambassador to the United States.
Correct.
Okay. Tell us about your family's history with politics.
Yeah. So
if you can.
Yeah.
What you can share.
No. We don't have any hidden skeletons anywhere. But my grandfather served as an ambassador from Ghana to the United States. Previous to that, he was ambassador from Ghana to Japan. And he's done that for two separate presidents, and always mainly been in government. But funny enough, his role was really pivotal to what happened with Beyond the Return, which encouraged African Americans to visit Ghana. And we have other parts of the family who are more ministerial, right, in some of the roles that they do. I've chosen to go down the tech path, but I am very supportive of what they're doing, because without their voices, I wouldn't have some of the opportunities I've had. But my grandfather being instrumental with launching Beyond the Return in 2018 at the National Press Club in Washington with the president, to encourage people of African descent to come home. But a very important shout out is to the mayor of Virginia, because the initiative came from them. their office
in Virginia.
Okay. Right, because of the last slave ship that docked in Virginia.
Wow.
Which is marking 400 years in 2018, I believe. Don't quote me. But 2018, and then that landed on my grandfather's desk, and then he got in touch with the Ghana Tourism Authority, the president, and then they came and gave it like all the energy it needed.
Is your grandfather the reason why, if you're of descent, you could go over to Ghana? Is he part of the reason and actually become a citizen, get dual citizenship?
Well, look, he's contributed to it. You know, there's a lot of people that's made that possible. Obviously, the president being the figurehead and spearheading that. He's played his role during his tenure as an ambassador. And then obviously, you know, I can't forget the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi, Annabelle there have done some amazing work. And a very good friend of mine by the name of Denta. These people have done some amazing work. So I don't want him to take all the credit.
But he's a part of it. So I could go get my dual citizenship in Ghana for free.
Yeah, I mean, listen, right now we have a very unique time. And that is that in our generation, African Americans can now visit Africa. They can invest in Africa. They can make it a second destination, a place to visit. And it's no longer this, you know, during the time, for example, my grandfather studied briefly with Maya Angelou.
Okay, Maya Angelou.
Yeah, Maya Angelou. And during that period, you had Malcolm X, you had Muhammad Ali. All these people were visiting. But the access and the knowledge they had then is very different to what we have now.
Yeah.
Right. So they couldn't really continue that in the way that they would have wanted to. Whereas in this situation, so he could just get on a plane, she can just get on a plane and just come and say, yo, Del, there's Afrochella happening. There's Afro Nation happening. There's this happening. Can I come? Just come up. Pull up. Charge
just like that.
Something.
Okay, you know? but here's the irony in that. And you tell me if I'm incorrect. I can pull up and come to Ghana easily, but can anybody in any other African country cross, country lines and travel freely through Africa?
Okay, so that's a really, really good question. So recently, I don't know if you noticed, Rwanda,
yes,
and Ghana as well have recently made it, you don't need a visa basically to travel to these countries. And prior to that, to your point, it's been very difficult to travel between different African countries as an African, which just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I think the presidents are doing a really good job. Kagame, our president, and the South African president, I believe also the Kenyan president as well. A lot of them are starting to push this agenda to make it easier for Africans to travel between their countries. But more importantly, the trade element of this is going to be really powerful. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot more to it than just, the visa access. That's the first step.
Yeah. So we tapped into the trade element, trade and commerce element of that, and how that's starting to change. We're starting to see a lot of African countries revolt against colonial rule, and we're starting to witness that as well.
Amen.
Speak to the trade agreements, how this is being impacted now. How's this being evolved now in Africa? I mean,
I'll start with Ghana. So, between Ghana and the Ivory Coast, they are the top producers of cocoa, right? And so you look at cocoa and you look at it's the main resource for what we have on this side of the world is chocolate, right? And other countries have benefited of that commercially. And so, you're the top two producers, you are you're hardly gaining anything from the commercial value, right? And so the dynamics of that was changed by our president teaming up with the Ivory Coast president to ensure that, cocoa and the products that are associated with cocoa would be produced locally, right? And so they completely changed the trade agreements there. AFTA, which has also been put in place, is something that's making it very, very efficient to trade on the continent as well, which is spearheaded by the African Union. Previously, Ghana was the chair, and I believe we now have a new chair. But nonetheless, those trade agreements are influencing the resources, how the resources go out of the continent. The companies that need to come into the continent and produce, obviously, that's creating more jobs. There's creating more African designed or manufactured products, right, to be exported. And then with this new incentive of making it easy for Africans to travel within the continent, the dynamics of our commerce, our GDP is going to change for the better.
Okay. And let's talk about the dynamics of the commerce and GDP in the Congo for a little bit. All right. And we were talking about this the other day.
Yep.
I'm just curious. We're trying to learn here, brother. We're just trying to learn. I mean,
high energy this morning.
We're just having a conversation, Yeah. We talked about lithium and its importance in the world, and even these phones we have right here, these cameras, everything, it evolves. The fact that all of this resource is being extracted from this region, and this region isn't benefiting from the profits that are being made at all. People are dying. People are ignoring it. It's genocide over there. It's all sorts of problematic issues happening in the Congo right now. And we look at that, and I'm curious to what are the surrounding countries in that area, Nigeria included. What is being done by African countries to kind of bring attention to that, to make this scenario fair for the people in the Congo? Are folks fighting? Are they protesting? Or what do you see happening?
I mean, if I'm to be honest, I'll be blunt. I don't think enough is being done.
Okay.
That's I'm not going to say what everyone wants to hear.
Okay.
Enough isn't being done. Some leaders are doing some, they're making some moves. But the thing that we need to understand is that if Africa is going to be in a situation where we are controlling our sovereignty more, we have to be prepared to make the sacrifices that we need to. That, may I say, includes, we may lose people.
Yeah.
Right? Revolutions cost blood. These are hard realities, right? And you have to look at other countries or other regions, what they've had to go through to gain their sovereignty. And we can no longer be in this situation where we see the Congolese being persecuted and we just turn a blind eye, or we're passive about it, right? That isn't a shot at any country per se, but what I'm saying is that if we want to really claim sovereignty in our continent, we're going to have to challenge these big corporations publicly, right, locally, and prevent them from capitalizing. We know what they're doing. We know what the motivations are. We know that some rogue African ministers are being paid, right?
Yeah.
And we know what they're looking at. But there's no way you can lead a continent, look at the people, go through they're your people.
Yeah.
They are not the other people's people. They're your people.
They're your people.
You have to fight for them. Neighbors have to fight, and the people in Congo, right, have to be supported, because obviously if they had all the ammunition, they would be fighting. Yeah. Right. So they don't have all the ammunition, right? And the corruption and the bureaucracy there is happening at a scale that makes it difficult.
Because the amount of money that's being generated, billions and billions of worth of resources are being taken out of that region, and nothing's being put back in.
Right. Yeah. And I will say, the plague of most African leaders is, money.
Yeah.
And, a man that can be bought, right, can be controlled. And so that what you see happening on the continent most of the time is really related to the fact that, poverty will make you do some desperate stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And it's not that we are poor in resource. Sometimes we're just poor in intellect and wisdom, right?
Oh, jeez, man. My man Dell is here. Dell Titus Bawumia is here. We're talking Web3 technology. We're talking Africa. You have any questions, you want to chime in, 888-742-3345. Tracy G.
Yes, sir. Dell, I know that Sway just threw you into the deep end.
Really? With the sharks?
Listen, your swim game is impeccable. For those who are getting to know you for the first time, you spoke about your family and how they've had such a global impact. And I'm sure that has influenced this entrepreneurship journey that you've been on. Can you speak a bit more about what your current career role is and how you got started in it? Because all of this is very fascinating, and I don't want you to be the only Dell.
Okay, well, that's good. Really, really powerful statement. So my focus is Web3 at the moment. A significant part in me getting into Web3, well, two significant areas of my life that drew me to Web3 was obviously post the recession. I was working in an alternative investment firm, boutique alternative investment firm, and Bitcoin landed on my desk. And I was basically, and this is as early as 2013, 2014.
Gotcha.
Right. So I was with a very, very good colleague of mine, sharp, programmer. And we figured out that you could mine these things. What it is, and when I say mining is the process of basically using computers and servers, right, to generate complex calculations to get a Bitcoin.
Yes,
right?
Those are the new shovels.
Right, those are the new shovels, correct. And so we started mining them, right? And we went from 1 to 2 to 5 to 10 to 20, right? And it just kept on growing. Admittedly, at the time, that was worth probably $1 million worth. And then the exchange, right, got hacked for 16.5 billion. And so we lost $1 million, close to $1 million. But the thing is, we never went in knowing that was going to happen. We went in because we thought the economic structure of Bitcoin and decentralization was the way forward.
Yes.
Right. And so that fast forward led me to 2018 when my dad passed away. And I had to spend a bit more time in Ghana. And I basically looked at the landscape of Africa and realized that we were heavily underperforming, right? GDP was stagnant. And you look at China's generated close to $16 trillion in 20 years. And you could say a good percentage of that has come from Africa. And so the question I asked myself is, what do we need to do, or what industries do we need to be a part of in the future that's going to accelerate our GDP? And that for me was tech. Context, Bitcoin in the last under 10 years has generated $1 trillion just as a cryptocurrency.
Under 10 years.
Under 10 years, right? And the times are different, but it took, whether it's Apple or Microsoft, north of 20 years. And so if you're a continent, it's not about cryptocurrencies, it's about what industry should you be focusing on, because through Web3 you have AI, you have blockchain, you have crypto, you have NFTs, you have
gaming, you got all that stuff.
All of that. So I went into it starting a company post 2018, which was focused on education policy and community building with the views of legitimizing the industry locally. And thus far, we have formed partnerships with the central bank. We have worked with global citizens. We have hosted the best part of crypto with Vitalik Buterin this year. I've teamed up with my guys at Afropolitan, who are building the first digital country.
Country.
Yeah, they're building a digital
What's
country.
a digital country?
So basically it's citizens that exist mainly online, right?
In the digital space.
In the digital space, right? And it's about basically claiming territories without, you claim the digital territory whilst also advancing the land and physical territory. But you're able to build policies that we're talking about, right, online, which can then be integrated into,
policies offline.
Exactly, real life institutions. And so what we're doing is, I'm thinking of me and Sway now. And the context, Sway could not necessarily come to Ghana and get a dual nationality. If he becomes an Afropolitan citizen, right, then we have the kind of state, or you call it network state, that allows us to be far-reaching across the globe and be able to have policies and a manifesto that allows us to come together and not necessarily be in one location, multiple locations, right? So, a good context or some analogy to this is Facebook or Meta, if you want to call it that. Zuckerberg can mobilize 2 billion people quicker than any president in this world, right? So in that
Afro-politician?
Afropolitan
instead of metropolitan.
No, Afropolitan. Yeah,
exactly.
Afropolitan. Yeah. So I sit on the board of that organization, and they are, we are slowly expanding across the region and the diaspora.
And what's the name of your company, though?
Web3 Accra, W3A. Yeah.
Web3 Accra.
Web3 Accra.
Accra.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the city.
The city of Accra, Ghana.
Ghana. Exactly.
Where I'm a citizen. Sneze on the line. Sneze. What up,
God bless
Sneze?
you.
Yep.
God bless you. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum to all of y'all.
Peace be with you, brother. You got a question
Peace
for
be
Dale?
with you, my brother. Yeah. Yes, I do, Mr. How do you pronounce your name, Del?
Del Titus. Del Titus.
Del Titus. Mr. Del Titus, how are you?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
That's good to hear. I'm blessed. I'm up this morning. To get to the question, Mr. Titus, as far as Ghana citizenship, right? How does one go about that coming from New York, and how fast does the citizenship take? That's one question.
Okay.
All right.
All right. The second question is, with this technology going on, is Ghana investing in, as far as broadcasting? Because we have this problem in hip hop. We just had a little situation with the brother D1 Music. And what I noticed in our region, as far as African Americans with this music and entertainment business, is that we don't own any antennas. We don't own any satellites in the sky or on the ground for broadcasting. We have no real strong real estate in the entertainment world. Like, we're still customers and content providers, but we're not really owners. Like SiriusXM, but everybody that's sitting in SiriusXM, you're getting a check, but somebody owns that platform for you to broadcast.
Thanks
And we
for
don't
the
have
reminder.
That's why I got stock.
I hear what you're saying, Sway. but the ownership, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. No, I'm just being funny.
Yeah. We need that
You're not
ownership.
the C-suite.
Nah, I get what you're saying. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah.
What's your question? You got
So sure, you want me to go for the first question?
Yes, please, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the first question, I'm coming in in my capacity as a citizen, is more straightforward now than it's ever been. I think the first thing I would say is you got to visit the country. That's the first thing. And there's a process. You visit the country, and most people tend to apply for what you call a resident or working permit. But through the Office of Diaspora Affairs and Beyond the Return, there is a process or a category that encourages diasporans to come to the country. Now, with that being said, the process has been evolving since 2018 to this point, and I would definitely say, it may have taken the best part of close to a year before, but I think that's cut down significantly. And I believe maybe 2 years ago, the president announced the first batch of people that got their citizenship to be on the ground. So I would say first step is get on the ground. Second step is, you could apply for a working or residence permit. And we also encourage people to come on the ground and invest, right? Because it's not just about coming to get a passport, right? We want you to become citizens or partial citizens of the country. And so that's why it's important to come and immerse yourself and understand exactly why you're becoming a citizen of Ghana. Because we want to welcome people, but we also want people to integrate into the society and build the society, right? And so that's the first stage. The second question is ownership. Yep, Africa has definitely been struggling with ownership. We have all the resources. And I always mention, I've said this way, and all my friends, is that we are resource rich. We tend to be cash poor. Yeah. Right? And over here, you are cash rich, but as black people's citizens, you're resource poor. Yeah. Right. And so the objective is where we are in Ghana today with my agenda in Web3 is basically to ensure that we build the infrastructure so that in the next 10 years, we have more entrepreneurs that basically control and are building in the space, opposed to it being dictated to us by other companies who have the infrastructure outside of the continent.
Like Meta, like YouTube, like all of these
Twitter.
Different places. All right. Hey, Sneze, that's an awesome question. Thank you, brother. You're a super
brother.
citizen.
Let's
Okay.
wait a moment.
Dale Titus Bawumia. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
For coming through, man. You want to hang out a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
We got my son, the Generals, up next, man.
Always. Let's do it, man.
Okay. Anybody want to continue this conversation with Dale? How can they reach you?
You can reach me on Instagram, DELTITUS BAWUAH, or you can just simply follow Web3 Accra, which is WEB3ACCRA.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Dale.